Hello and welcome to the Data Edge. Today I'm joined by Dex Goose from Workplace Solutions, a part of IT, and we will be talking about what Dex does there and also about the project he's working on. Basically, they have a ton of information and they are looking at forward planning, looking at standardized pricing, and actually all of the things that asset managers are looking for into AI and how to use that into the changes in billing. Your host today, I'm Stephanie Wiegers, the CEO of Pairstop, where we help companies in hard services, facilities management to work on clean and structured and enriched data so that everything is ready to get the maximum value out of AI. A lot of information organizations have a huge amount of procurement data, supplier data, but the value and the actions are often lacking, which is, in my opinion, a shame because this wealth of information can actually be translated into knowledge and into decisions. So today, I'd love to use this conversation to really understand your world, Dex. Where does this data currently sit in your business? What decisions do you need to support? And where do you believe that some better classification and automation can create measurable value? Before we dive into that, will you share something with us about what is it that you do on a day-to-day? What are the things that you want to achieve?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. So UPS Workplace Solutions is a team within the family that focuses on customer experience. So our goal is to make sure that our colleagues within them have the best experience they can have in our spaces that we occupy, and that covers everything from guest services through to the hard services, facilities, maintenance, PPMs, looking after the buildings, and including security. Now, one of the challenges, obviously, with having a huge group within this sort of family, there's lots of people who gathering data all the time from different experiences, whether it be sensors, whether it be customers, feedback, or just walk around audits. So we store a lot of data, but do we actually use it efficiently? And I think that's the piece that we're starting to see the benefit of AI now on how to take that data from all the different departments and collate it and try and come up with some forward-thinking, problem-solving solutions.
Yeah. And have you, when you speak about AI, have you already implemented any solutions and any tools?
Other than starting to play with Copilot, probably not. It's quite a daunting experience for some users to get into it. We have a quite a strong RT data team who have started collating some of our data, sensor data, into dashboards, which is
Hmm.
great, and that gives us some framework to work from. But it's the second part of it is now looking for how do we make it more efficient, make it easier for somebody to input the information. Um, and one of the key things also we're finding is to try and standardize what information is stored.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because sometimes, people fill in a form and everyone calls something a pen, a Varo, or a ballpoint.
Yes.
And and that terminology sometimes it gets lost on us. I'm trying to sort of get the data together. So if we
Yeah.
can create a system where it thinks for you when you're doing it. That's our next, our steps to go to.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is basically to have those dashboards actually accurate, you have to look at the first step in the process, which is what's the thing actually going into it? What's the data that we are recording and how are we recording it?
Absolutely. And I think that's quite easy when it comes to sensor technology, for example. It's, ones and zeros and things like that. And it's easy to manage. The harder part is when we start bringing in customer experience stuff or spend or work bills that have been created with our third party suppliers, work bill being an order to do some work.
Yeah. So I think what would be really interesting is if we go through this in three parts. So we've already been talking a bit about the current setup and what that looks like. So we can go into some more details around what are the systems that you use and like the actual types of data that you handle, because we've now heard the logging in the beginning, but also, for example, work bills and all of the different items that people actually interact with. And then I would also love to go into, okay, what's the business impact that's related to that? Because in the end, we're not logging data for the sake of it, and we want to do something with it. And then finally, I think it would be really interesting to also see, okay, what kind of solutions are there? Like, what can be done better? And now that we are in this age of AI, well, companies like Pearstop, but also what do AI companies do? What do data companies do? And like, how can you, as like in facilities management, what are the steps to take to get to that data to make it usable and make those decisions? Does that sound useful?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, cool. Um, so when you say there are, like that front end piece of like logging the data and capturing those bills and materials, do you have any systems already in place, or is that like everyone can do it in however they see fit?
So I think we focus on a few things when we're bringing in the data into our teams. Um, we've got the personal side, which is very much our guest services and our teams that sort of deal with the front of house, and they look after people's inputs, people's sort of feedback, and that's very emotional information and very important. And then the other side of it, we've got the sensors, which are very clean data, whether it's environmental, temperature, number of people, desks, utilization, how many people in the building. Um, so we do monitor a lot of things,
Hmm.
and it's bringing those things together, I think, is the piece. And then second to that is we've got the third party suppliers and our teams managing the facilities. And
Yeah.
within that, they're running their PPM schedules and making sure that all the compliance stuff is done. But on top of that, they're also, always looking at improvements within the buildings, fabric improvements, things like that, that are, again, information that's being created, but not really captured in the best way, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So basically there's just multiple layers of information coming in and a lot of it from very high, like qualitative, personal information, direct sensor data, and then all of the third party data. And then you want to combine that and then basically move that into actual value. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think anything that helps speed up decision making or give you confidence in decision making is
Hmm.
going to be a key. It gives you that confidence to take on bigger projects and allow things to happen without so many layers of management on top of it, having to have a keen eye on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Can you walk us through a type of decision that you would want to make, or maybe are already making based on this data that like is being read from these multiple places?
So, yeah, there are a few, but I think one of the key things from my team's perspective is um, highlighting risk areas that are so where there's a lot of spend in particular items within a building or in a group of buildings, whether those are going to cause an effect, either the security, which is a big part of M&G's focus,
Hmm.
and health and safety, which is obviously everyone's focus.
Yeah.
How that is something where it might change your decision on how you plan to work with that building, whether it needs to be pulled forward as a full upgrade or renovation, because there's been an increase in small issues that are obviously being fixed by the third party teams. Um, but increase in that creates that risk that things could be going, getting to a point where they need some work done to the building.
Yeah. So essentially it's a translation from these metrics to something very at the core of your business, which is in this case biosecurity and then of course health and safety. And then how do you make that actionable? Because how do you go from we have the numbers, now we have a dashboard to these are the decisions that we're going to make?
And at the moment, obviously, we have a team who look at all the raw data as best they can, and then make calls based on historical experience. And
Mhm.
I think that's the piece that sort of you want to try and take it and take the emotional part out of it and make it more a quantitative decision so that it's easier to make. Um, it also means that you can end up with a middle management or lower management position coming in and being able to be confident about making certain decisions without having to always run it up the chain.
Yeah,
Um, and creating that confidence is giving them good historical data and sort of guidance.
yeah. So in a way, if I hear that correctly, it's also about empowering your people.
Absolutely, it's always about empowering people because without people, we don't have a business, and we can't keep everyone happy. There's no customer experience without people behind it. Um, and I think it's a great industry. FM is a great industry. It's probably one of the quieter industries. People
Absolutely.
don't know enough about it, and it's such a great career opportunity. And also, I think with the younger generation coming in, tech is going to be a big feature in their lives. And if we can make the experience tech uh,
Mm.
savvy and tech sort of thing that they can play with to help them in their journey, I think it just opens up the door for people to come into our industry.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. It's such a fun industry to work in with so many opportunities. Well, Dex, thank you so much for giving us some insights into, well, into like projects that you're working on and how the data process works for you. Is there anything that you would like to give to any listeners as a takeaway, like something that you've learned in this process and something that you believe everyone should be doing?
I think the bottom line is collect your data, definitely, because without it, you're not going to be able to use experience or systems to help you to benefit you in decision making. So create that data and create clean data as well, because I think that's one of the key things is that having decent stored data is critical to helping you going forward.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I would, of course, 100% agree. Um, Thank you again for being a guest. If you are listening and you think, well, actually, I have a problem with my data, at Pearstop, we pick up that part of bringing the data sources together um, and cleaning it up. So definitely feel free to have a little look into that. Then, Dex, I want to thank you again. It was amazing to have you here. And I, well, I really like the way you look at it in terms of, okay, we can use this data and use all this technology to empower people and also make sure that FM is not just a fun workplace now, but that we attract the younger generation and allow them to grow in it and become more and more tech savvy. Um,
Absolutely. But thank you. I will be looking into how we can better um, streamline the data we have
yeah,
and make it more manageable.
fantastic. Well, this was the Data Edge, and we are looking forward to welcoming you again the next time for more insights about AI data and everything that's possible around it. Thank you so much.